Last night's debate was pretty feisty, maybe a little feistier than the night before. One of the most intriguing takeaways, though, I think from both nights is how the non-mainstream, non-traditional candidates fared. In my estimation, they did pretty well, and one thing is for sure, they definitely lit up the internet.
Team Rising is here to tell us what they think. Will Jawando is a Democratic strategist, council member at large in Montgomery County, Maryland, and Madeline Osburn is a staff writer at the Federalist and producer of the Federalist Radio Hour. Welcome to you both.
Thanks.
So it was interesting, Will, I think, to see Andrew Yang, Marianne Williamson, Tulsi Gabbard really lit up. I mean, I think all of them were either, so Marianne and Tulsi were the most Googled candidates after their debates. Andrew Yang obviously had a couple breakout moments.
Trending on Twitter.
I thought what was most interesting about him was when he made a mockery of the whole process. And I thought it was a good thing, where he was like, we have makeup on our face. He's like, this is a reality show. This is just complete BS. Let's take a listen to what he said.
We're up here with makeup on our faces and our rehearsed attack lines, playing roles in this reality TV show. It's one reason why we elected a reality TV star as our president. We need to be laser focused on solving the real challenges of today, like the fact that the most common jobs in America may not exist in a decade, or that most Americans cannot pay their bills.
I thought it was a powerful moment from him.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there's always been this tension, but in American politics, right? Even go back to Kennedy when TV started. People want to kind of escape and have a dynasty and put their aspirations, hopes, and dreams onto something else. But there's also the rubber meets the road when you can't pay your bills and you don't have health care and there's real issues happening. And I think we've seen under this presidency that happened for a lot of people. And I think Andrew Yang, we can see from his Google hits and the online following that he's amassed, the massive following in the Asian American community, obviously, that he's tapped into something in a vein, and I think that was a great moment for him.
Yeah, I mean, Madeline, he's one of the few that's already made the next round of debates. And I thought this moment, I mean, it landed so perfectly because everybody came in like wanting to recreate that Kamala moment with her pre-printed T-shirts and everything. And he just called out the game and exposed what a farce a lot of the elements of our political theater really are.
Yeah, he wasn't quite as entertaining as Marianne Williamson, but he did the same outsider thing as her, right?
He's different. That's what I like about them.
Something that was very not wonky, not like here's my policy and boring like everybody else.
They don't feel like the same old. I mean, whether you agree with their views or not, and Marianne and Tulsi Gabbard I'd put in this category too. She has very heterodox views, a very like sort of cross-sectional following. Andrew Yang, at least they feel like they're being their authentic selves and pushing ideas and views that they actually care about. People are clearly responding
to that. And that's exactly what Trump was in the Republican debates in 2016, right?
Well, and that's the thing is about Marianne Williamson is, I mean, people are ridiculing her. I mean, she's a very successful woman, a very successful meditation guru. I think a really a hope and an inspiration to millions, really, with some of her books. And I think, Will, what she was getting at is so important, which she was like, this isn't just about politics. There is a deep cultural rot in this country.
Yeah,
and that's actually, she couldn't be more right.
She couldn't be more right on that. And when talking about race and the divide that we see now, she has been most on point in my view.
I was shocked.
Out of all the candidates, including the candidates of color. And, every now and then, though, she'll veer off into that, peace and love and lose some people.
Yeah, dark psychic force.
But I think I'm glad she's there. I think her and Yang are bringing something that we haven't seen in modern American politics to the stage. And it's forcing, I think, others, and I think it's great that Yang is going to, with his no tie and all, I know you don't like that, but that he's going to make it to the next stage, because I think he'll interject the debate. And I've actually met him a couple times, and he doesn't think he's going to win, but he knows that if he can bring some of his ideas like universal basic income and other things to the table, he's going to have changed the debate.
Well,
he's been very good on this show too, and he's one of the most substantive people we've ever interviewed.
He is, and incredibly honest and like open to actual learning, which is insanely unusual. Something I would say Marianne Williamson is the same. I disagree that he doesn't think he can win. I think he, at this point, he's going to be one of the few that makes the next debate round. People are going to continue to learn about. I think he believes that he truly has a path. But to your point, Will,
He's just humble, maybe.
He's already.
Which is also another unique characteristic.
Well, true, very true, and has a sense of humor, which is unusual up there.
So.
But to your point, Will, he's already won an important battle in that people are talking about universal basic income.
Right.
Is it massively popular yet? No. But he put a big, potentially transformational idea that was not on anyone's radar on the map in our political discussion.
He's been much more successful, right, than a Jay Inslee. Then, like, Inslee came in and was like, I'm going to move the origin window on
climate change guy.
Yeah, it has nothing. UBI, do you know how many people are Googling UBI now?
Right.
Oh, I
But
believe
another thing
it.
I thought was interesting, Madeline, was he brought up life expectancy. He was the only candidate last night to actually talk about how life expectancy over the last 3 years has declined.
Yep.
That's pretty much the ultimate metric of a society about, like, are we doing okay or not? Like, are people living? I mean, when people start to die more, things are not good.
Right, he brought up suicide and anxiety, and those are also things that Williamson is hitting on, right? Like, there is a spiritual void, and there's something going on, like, you know, the decline of religion and all these trends that we've seen, that it's easy to make fun of Yang and Marianne Williamson both, but they both are speaking to something that a lot of people feel.
I think that's right. And Ross Douthat over the New York Times, himself a Catholic Christian, but he writes a lot about this, about how the new left spirituality of Marianne Williamson really represents, like, a deep yearning for something bigger
For
and
meaning.
a speaking. Yeah, for a meaning.
I mean, that's just on a basic level. Human beings need meaning, and our culture is so centered around this like consumerist bullshit that if we buy another thing, Chinese-made junk from from Walmart, we're going to be happy.
Or your fulfillment comes from Instagram likes. Or,
Right, exactly. And these are people who are actually trying to speak to those deeper issues. Well, I think people are responding to that.
I think so too.
I agree 100%. I responded to it, and we're grizzled veterans, right?
Right, we're so
and
cynical.
if you can pierce us, and I mean, I think normal folks are actually, it's really making a difference.
Another thing we should talk about, obviously, is Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi went after Kamala Harris last night. So I was actually very interested, even though she did not take the opportunity to attack Joe Biden for his vote on the Iraq War. I tweeted about that. A lot of people said she's obviously making a ploy for the VP. What do you think, Will?
I think that's the exact right analysis. If you looked, I often watch the body language after.
Yeah.
And if you watch the right after the debate ended, Tulsi and Biden talked for about 45 seconds to a
that's
minute and
interesting.
had a big long hug.
That's interesting.
And I would not be surprised at all that if that's part of her strategy. And it's not a wrong strategy. I also think you have to be careful with what Kamala Harris and Booker and others are doing with Biden. You know, Nia Malika, a good friend from the made a point last night that people might have already baked in all of his baggage.
Yeah.
And when you attack him, it could have the opposite effect to some, like, why, this guy has dedicated his life.
Exactly what's
why are
gonna
you
happen.
attacking
I think
him?
that's true.
And I don't think it's a good strategy. And so Tulsi, I think, picked up on that too.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, Madeline. Last time we saw that after the black vote or black support for Biden was not only stayed strong, it actually went up a bit in South Carolina, and that there was an overwhelming feeling amongst a lot of voters that, she unfairly attacked him and is maligning President Obama's legacy. I mean, if you look at that stage last night, it was like running against Obama like he was a George W. Bush-like figure in the Democratic Party, but that's not the case. He's overwhelmingly popular.
Right, and I think that all the attacks on Biden kind of solidified him as the front runner, right? Like, he's the one that they need to attack, and I think he handled it a lot better than the first debate. He had a lot more energy. He was more Uncle Joe in responding. But back to Tulsi, her wrecking of Kamala was my favorite part of the whole night.
Well, we actually have
let's
that
take
fight.
let's take a
look at that, because I think
That's
that was
so
a
great.
strong blow.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Well, let me get your thoughts on that exchange. Tulsi is accurate here. She did her homework.
Well, you have the prosecutor being prosecuted.
Yeah.
Right.
And with evidence. I mean, she was looking down, checking her facts.
She had her homework and her list ready to go, and she delivered that very effectively.
Oh, extremely effectively. And you can tell because after that point in the debate, Senator Harris was off kilter.
Oh,
And she
totally.
was defensive, and she was, she never really regained her footing, in my view. And that's amazing, because for someone who is normally very poised.
Well,
And she didn't even have a response. She went on
Yeah.
CNN last
After
night
the debate.
saying, "Oh, Tulsi is an Assad, basically an Assad toady,"
which is such a, which
is
is
polling
such
it
a
was
misleading,
0%.
cheap
I'm like,
flag.
That's how you know she got under her skin.
And,
Yeah,
and also say it to her face.
Yeah,
you were
right.
there on the stage with her. If that's
Say
what you
it on the
thought,
stage.
say it on to
All
her
she
face.
said on the
That's your
stage was,
comeback.
"You have a fancy language." I'm
Yeah.
like, no, address the core of the
right,
issue.
yeah, totally.
I didn't. I was, I'm a big
The
Kamala
fancy
fan.
language
I
isn't
just
a
didn't. I
problem.
just didn't like.
All right,
Yeah.
sit tight, guys. We're going to get more into Kamala and Biden next.